If you watched my video from last week, you would think I hated my former job. And you would be wrong. Well, partially. I did enjoy the job for the first 6 months. I worked in the specialty or cheese department at Whole Foods, and I learned a lot. One of the many perks of the role was sampling the product for product knowledge. And sampling the product, I did. I was an expert at sampling the product. You could always find me eating, and that's how I mastered the cheeses and was able to give killer recommendations to clueless customers. But I wasn't just snacking for free. I did buy a lot of the cheeses with my own money and brought home my first 6 months to a year at the job. Sampling the cheeses at work versus at home were two very different experiences, I realized. It always tasted fresher, better at work somehow. Anyway, the point I am making here is I went from not really liking cheese and knowing nothing about cheese except for mozzarella, American cheese, and the Laughing Cow, and maybe Swiss cheese, to being a cheesemonger or cheese connoisseur, or as us Americans like to pronounce it, connoisseur. By the way, the word is from the verb connaître in French, which means to know. I remember my brother saying to me that I was going to miss the discounts and the samples. Absolutely not. I have eaten enough cheese for a lifetime, and if I want more, I'll go buy it. I am not staying at a job just so I can keep snacking for free. Also, the snacking for free was making me gain weight. What's up, beautiful people, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Yaira, better known as simply Yaya. I am proudly African from Cameroon, born and bred, which is how I can speak French. Cameroon is a bilingual country. I worked for Disney for the better half of my young adult life, and more recently, obviously, Whole Foods. I am always working on leveling and glowing up, and I have a Master of Science in journalism, which informs how I view and discuss some aspects of pop culture on this channel. Today's video is a bit different, a bit more adventurous. I have always wanted to discuss cheese on this channel, but again, wanted to do it in a fun, creative way. And what better way to talk about a few cheeses than to compare them to the personality traits of the main characters of Wicked? I promise, I do watch other movies and will be discussing other movies and shows here soon, but let me ride this Wicked train until the wheels fall off. Well, if all of the above sounds fun and interesting to you, keep on watching. Let's begin with Miss Popular, Glinda or Glinda Upland of the Upper Uplands. She is the epitome of what society thinks femininity is or should be. She's blonde, slim, charismatic, always in pink. She's from wealth and she's beloved and always gets her way. Well, until Elphaba enters the chat. If Glinda were a cheese, she would be a brie. Fromage dauphinois specifically, which is a double cream brie. Fromage dauphinois is delicious by itself, but better with a cracker and some sour cherry jam or fig jam. Glinda could equally be a manchego, which is a sheep's milk cheese you see me wrapping here. This one is called cordobles. I haven't met too many people who didn't like the manchego or this fromage dauphinois. In fact, those are among the best sellers of cheeses in the department in which I worked. They are what I like to call great introduction to artisan cheeses. In other words, they are easy on the tongue, they are mild, they are acceptable, much like Glinda. Elphaba would be a Camambert or Taleggio. Camambert is quite possibly the stinkiest brie there is. It's cow's milk. Taleggio is an Italian wash rind cheese, also cow's milk. It's brie adjacent, meaning it's similar to a brie because it's a semi-soft cheese, and it's also very stinky. But once you taste them, they are creamy, bold, and delicious. Once you taste them, you almost forget they are stinky. Elphaba's green skin is repulsive and surprising to a lot of people she meets, and they assume the worst about her immediately because of her skin color. But she's like everyone else in the sense that she just wants to be loved and accepted. She's also not like everyone else in the sense that despite people's repulsion of her skin color, she's very self-assured and also has a lot of power. Literal power. Fiyero is a truffle Gouda. Fiyero, much like Glinda, is generally well-liked. Though he's a prince, he's nonchalant and playful. But then Elphaba brings out his serious, thinking, intense side. Much like the Brie and the Manchego cheeses, I haven't come across many who dislike the Gouda, whether it's aged or young. Most people like Gouda, in my humble opinion, whether it's cow's milk, goat's milk, or sheep's milk. But then you add a flavor as intense as truffle to it and it becomes something else. I'll say right off the bat that truffle Gouda isn't my favorite, but again, it's among the top sellers of the cheeses. That's not to say I don't like Fiyero. He's quite dreamy, but I am not his type. Well, in real life, I wouldn't be Jonathan Bailey's type. Too bad for us straight women. He really is a charmer. Well, he seems to be. I don't know this man from a can of paint. Madame Morrible. First of all, the fact that she's even called Madame means she's in charge and runs things. She basically runs Oz, just people don't really know it yet. They think it's the wizard, but he has no power. Likewise, the Parmigiano Reggiano, or Parmereg for short, from the Parma region in Italy, is known as the king of cheese. It's made from raw cow's milk and aged for 24 months or 2 years. A wheel of that cheese weighs roughly 80 to 90 pounds and takes about 2 to 3 hours to break down and process if it's 2 or 3 people working on it. If it's one person, well, that's nearly your entire shift processing that sucker. The one that we have, it's like a 90-pound cheese. It's actually 90 pounds. Like if I was walking in that store, I never worked in Whole Foods, and I walked in the store and you told me that was a cheese, I wouldn't believe you. It's 90 pounds, it's yellow, and it takes like at least 2-3 hours to process. Like we crack it in the store, like we crack it open in the store. It's a whole process. It takes at least like 2 to 3 people, because you're not only cracking it and getting the pieces out of it to wrap it and tag it. Now you have to like grate some other pieces to have grated cheese. Cutting that cheese is work, and I don't miss it. Whenever I used this Parmesan in a pasta dish, it's mild at first, but simply cannot be ignored. Madame Morrible has a powerful presence. She takes up space, much like the Parmigiano. She's nice to Elphaba at first, and then her claws come out. And the reverse is true for Glinda. Madame Morrible despises Glinda at first, but then Glinda becomes her little protege after Elphaba refuses to join them in their evil plan. The governor of Munchkinland, Governor Thropp, aka Elphaba and Nessarose's father. Well, just technically Nessarose's father, because he behaves like that's his only daughter and ignores Elphaba or just yells at her. But also his wife had an affair, so technically Elphaba isn't his. But still, why be upset with Elphaba? It's not her fault. Be mad at your wife. Being cruel to one child and doting on the other is nasty work. And for that reason, I would compare Thropp to the Morbier cheese. It's a foul-smelling cheese. No question about it, and in my opinion, it doesn't taste good either. There have been some customers who asked for it because they liked it, but those customers were few and far between. We couldn't even sell that cheese when I worked there, so we got rid of it, as in we stopped ordering it. The wizard. He's managed to fool all the Ozians that he's a great and powerful wizard. All he said was Omaha, as in Omaha, Nebraska, where he's from probably, and they assumed he could read the Grimoire. But he's just an ordinary man with no powers. He has a vision for sure, albeit cruel to the animals. His favorite color seems to be green. The Herbs de Provence Bellavitano cheese looks quite intriguing and exquisite, and then you taste it and realize it's basic. It's just a Parmesan and cheddar cow's milk cheese with an oily green herby rub. It's one of the better Bellavitanos, but it's still basic. Last but certainly not least, we have Boq Woodsman from Munchkinland. Munchkins are known to be farmers. Boq is a sensitive soul, and as mentioned in this video, he wears a lot of the orange in his school uniform, which is more of an earth tone, which is appropriate given the fact that he's a Munchkin. Two cheeses come to mind when I think of Boq: the Mimolette and the grass-fed sweet red cheddar. The Mimolette is a French hard-aged cow's milk cheese. It's also known for its bright orange color from annatto. The Mimolette had to sit out at room temperature for at least an hour in order for me to be able to cut it, because again, it's a hard cheese, but nutty in taste and has a bit of a sweetness to it. Sweet red cheddar, as the name suggests, is a sweet cheddar that isn't red, but it's close. It's orange as well. It's made from grass-fed cow's milk. I have used this cheese before along with a 3-chili Gouda, which is a bit spicy, to make mac and cheese. It was awesome. I might make that mac and cheese again, and maybe I'll record it. I haven't forgotten about Nessarose, but I was having a hard time matching her to a cheese because there's not much I know about her based on this movie. She doesn't have a defining characteristic other than she doesn't want any help. She wants to be independent and likes Boq, but Boq likes Glinda. Glinda likes Fiyero, who really likes Elphaba. What a mess. Maybe in part 2 of the movie, I'll have a better understanding of Nessa's character and be able to match her to a cheese. I hear she turns evil, but I'll have to see how that plays out for myself. That's all I have for you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Drop this emoji in the comments section if you made it this far. Check out my merch website. I have one-time discount codes for 20% off $50 purchases and free shipping for $100 purchases. And watch these videos next. Bye.